Yeah. This ensures Dawn will never get too full of herself.
Uh,
Welcome back, friends, to another episode of Conversations with Friends. I am here today with my friend Andrea, who I will let introduce herself in just a moment. But I just want to say hi. I feel like it's been a minute, even though it's only been a couple of weeks. Um, Gosh, it's spring. It's spring finally. Things are blooming. Oh my gosh, everything is so much brighter than last year. I feel like there's more lilacs this year. There's more everything. Andrea, though, how you blooming?
so well.
Tell us who you are and why you're here.
I'm actually the CEO of Warren Washington Association for Mental Health, and we are located obviously in Warren and Washington counties, thus our name. We provide services for individuals who have some mental health issues in a variety of ranges and a variety of services and care that we can provide between the two counties. Um,
So you were saying as we popped on and we were saying hello to each other that the what is it, the Cooper Hill Apartments? Is
Cooper
that
Street Apartment.
Cooper Street?
Yes.
Tell us
Yes.
about those.
Yeah, so this has been a labor of love for the last 4 years. We've been in the process of building this 29 unit apartment building that is permanent supported housing for homeless individuals living in Warren and Washington counties. It's located on Cooper Street in Glens Falls. It is a beautiful building. It is going to be staffed 24/7. It is basically designed so that individuals who are homeless can move in, and we have staff that can help them every single day on their journey of recovery, whatever that looks like for them. They have a mental health issue, substance use disorder, domestic violence victims, um, transitional aged youth, anybody needing a hand up. We are going to be there for them.
That sounds amazing. So what is the criteria for being able to do that? Is there some kind of a process?
Yeah, there is actually. Their continuum of care is located it's between Saratoga and Warren and Washington counties, and it spreads out into the capital region. There's a whole process for referrals for that. And the first criteria is that you are homeless and or chronically homeless. That could mean many things. That could be you're living on the street, you're unstably housed, you're living in your car, you're living in a tent, and then beyond that, we are there to serve individuals individually based on their needs. So if they're coming to the table with other needs, such as mental health needs, as I mentioned, those types of things, those are things that we specialize in. And just to make connections in our community for these folks, again, so that they can recover from homelessness and whatever else that it is that they're experiencing based on a person-centered plan for each one of them.
That sounds great. So, like, say, is there like psychologists available for them for
We
counseling?
we have the staff are not clinicians, but they would connect them with clinicians in our community. So this is where we do outreach with all of the other providers in our community, whether it's clinical, whether it's social services, whether it is jobs, employment, education, daycare, any number of things in order to help these individuals
How
become
about
whole.
right? So, is there anything like as simple as mentoring? Like buddies?
Yep, we do have that program as well. We already have a program in Hudson Falls, which is exactly what this building was modeled after. This is an 18 unit bed or 18 unit apartment in Hudson Falls. And essentially, the individuals that move in typically tend to buddy up themselves and they work together because they're on equal platforms. They've been there, done that. We have peer services that we do provide within our agency. They also will be there at Cooper Street as they are in Housing First to be able to walk alongside these folks and to help them in any way that they can.
That's great. So, is there any like is there a common room or something in these apartment buildings?
There is a wonderful community room that's got a kitchen area in it, beautiful space, beautiful furniture. We also have an exercise room. that we're slowly getting exercise equipment into. Again, bringing people from the outside in to help these people, work on every aspect of their life, even their health, right? So with the workout room. We have beautiful space outside. We're going to be getting a playground for the children because we do have families that are going to be moving in. And where we are located is right almost downtown. It's just down from the T-shirt factory in Glens Falls. So it is within walking distance of all of these other venues that, again, staff will help if there's some social issues or if there's anxieties, and getting them connected with their community as well.
Wow, that's so great. Do you ever have outside providers come in and provide like fitness classes, say yoga, etc.?
That's what we're hoping to do. We don't have that availability right now at Housing First, but that's our goal. We would love to have people come in and share their talents or their craft with our folks in some way, shape, or form so that they can branch out and have really great life experiences right in their own home.
That is amazing. Put me on the list for yoga and mindfulness. I'd love to help.
Absolutely. I'll call you first thing.
Okay, great. So this is just so lovely. So there must be a huge, was it a big grant process that made something like this happen?
It was. The building and construction really only took a little over a year. And prior to that, it was about a 3-year period of applying for grants. We got two major grants, one from New York State Empire Supported Housing Initiative. And then the other one is through the Office of Temporary and Disability Assistance with the Homeless Housing Project. And those two combined are not only the monies to build the program, but also to operate the program. And then we've been receiving so much support from the community, both monetarily and donation. It's just amazing to see it all come together. And I was just up there last night. We're doing some final preps for Thursday. And it is just such a warming experience to walk in there and know that these people that are going to move in and knowing their backstories, this is their home and it's a place for them. Like with our homes, when we walk in, it's an oasis for us, and that is going to be an oasis for them. And it's so exciting that it's finally here.
Right? We all need our own safe spaces.
Yes, we do.
I love to hear how the community is supporting it because so often what we hear about in the media is how neighborhoods are fighting against these kinds of things, right? And it's so discouraging because, one phrase that gets thrown around a lot, but by the grace of God,
Oh,
right?
I know.
Like,
I hear it all the time.
right? Like, we so many of us are live paycheck to paycheck after the year we've just had. How many people are without employment? I would like to think we're becoming a little more empathetic as a as an overall society, but time will tell. So I love to hear that it has great community support.
It does. It really does. It's the things that we wish that we could see more of in the news and not just the negative pieces, because the things that we are seeing between these two counties, between, again, the monetary support and the donation, it has been astronomical, to say the very least, that people have really come out and said, I really want to support this cause. People are very concerned, obviously. When you start talking about homeless people, you start talking about mental health, and there's a stigma there.
Of
And what
course.
people need to realize is that they are people, regardless of what they've come to the table with. And there's a vast array of those of us in the community that are specialized in helping these people. And if you understand and if you take the time to learn and to get educated on what it means and who these people are and the things that they're experiencing, just like everybody else in our community. If you think about all of the medical diagnoses, for example, that we're constantly learn about, we're constantly seeing commercials on TV. We want to help and support these people. We want to help them to get better. Homeless individuals and people with mental health concerns are no different. And if we could
Right.
learn more, we could help more.
Right, because that's the scary thing that people see, right? They see people talking to themselves or,
Mm.
having angry outbursts, which aren't necessarily at us, by the way, people. It's
Oh,
It's whatever their reality is at the time, and they are untreated mental health issues,
Mhm,
right? These are
mhm.
not evil demonic people, they are people who need help.
This is very,
Right.
that's true.
So the more we can help and the more we all offer in our help,
Mhm.
the more people get help and the less you see the scary parts.
Yeah,
um, right, because
that's,
your neighbors are dealing with the same mental health issues except they have help.
that's right. That's right.
So we just, well, was is May is mental health month, isn't
Yes,
it?
it
I
is.
feel like I've been talking about it for 3 months,
Yeah,
but it's only been a couple of weeks. This is
yeah,
only what's the date today? May
I love
11th.
it.
I feel like it's almost June. This
I
is the
know.
problem with scheduling everything 3, 4, 5 months. I mean, 5 weeks ahead in
Yeah.
my books. I never know exactly where I am here.
Mhm.
Um, so, what initiatives or programs or things is your organization putting out there for Mental Health Month?
Yeah, so this obviously is the month of celebration. This is the month where we really, even though we're doing this work all year round, this is the time that we take to really put out there to the community things about mental health awareness. And obviously, COVID has um, created some more creative ways for us to get that message out there. Unfortunately, last year we couldn't partake in our annual event, which we host in the community, and in which we bring a speaker in to talk about something related to mental health. And then, of course, we have food, which food is the tie that binds us all. But with COVID, we couldn't do that. So unfortunately, last year we couldn't. This year we did. We did it virtually. And part of our celebration is also recognizing people in the community who have given back to the mental health community. And so we have people this year, we recognized two people for each award this year because we couldn't do this last year. And so we have a Walter P. Reichert Award, which are people that work in the mental health field or are connected to the mental health field who've made a difference. And if it's okay, I'd like to say, we've already had the event on May 3rd to kick off the month, but this year, the Hope and Healing Center in Hudson Falls, as well as Baywood Center in Glens Falls, received those awards this year for all of the wonderful programs that they've been offering through the years that have intersected with substance use disorders and their programs and services as well, including everything that they've done to stay open during COVID and continue those services throughout. And then we have a Dorothea Dix Community Service Award for people who are not working in mental health but have made an impact in the mental health community. And again, we had two individuals, actually two groups. One is the Glens Falls Presbyterian Church, and they have a mission committee that actually has been a huge support for Cooper Street this year, both monetarily. Also, they've created quilts. They've made quilts from scratch for every single bed in Cooper Street.
Oh my God, that is
Yeah, yeah,
wonderful.
they,
Oh my gosh. What
yeah,
a brand new personal blankie. I love that
yeah.
so much.
How's that, right? Like, welcome home. Here's your
Yeah.
quilt. And other things that they have donated to make the apartments feel like home for these folks. Um, and we also have the other award winner was the Our Lady of the Annunciation Church in Queensbury. They have a program called the Jesse's Treat Gifts. And we've actually been recipients of this for the last 5 years, in which I can't tell you how many things we have gotten from them. For example, one year it was bathrobes for all of our residents. And there's 118 residents, and we got a bathrobe for every single one of them. We've gotten blankets, we've gotten, hats and mittens. The simplest of things that we kind of take for granted that folks that we serve in a variety of our programs and services would love to have because they can't afford it, they don't have it, or they just don't think about it because there's other things that they're thinking about in their life. It's just been an amazing program, and we haven't been the only ones to receive these gifts throughout the year. Both churches obviously are constantly doing community give back. They're always looking for opportunities to help people. And our focus this year with mental health, obviously, is that because of their giving back, we're helping people to be mentally well because they don't have to worry about getting their bathrobe. They don't have to worry about a hat and gloves. because it's being provided to them, and they also know that they are cared about by people that don't even know them. So we were very excited to offer those awards this year, and very grateful for the community that we live in. There's so many services. There's so many people that really care about one another and care about this community and want to see it blossom. And regardless of COVID, they've been out there, boots on the ground, making that happen every single day, and they continue to do so.
That's amazing. So when do they open?
So they officially open their doors with our first tenants on Monday, May 17th. So just
Oh,
next,
so this coming Monday.
yes, yes.
Tell me, is there plants in their rooms yet?
Well, we don't have any live plants, but we do have those little fake ones that look really nice.
What if somebody like me made a challenge to my greater community to like, hey, I'm going to buy a plant for a room. How many rooms are there? 29?
Well, there's 29 units. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So if I could find, 30 or more friends who also want to donate a plant, could we do that?
you absolutely could.
Because I
That's
I think
wonderful.
I think that there's something wonderful about when you start being nurtured as a person to be able to turn that nurturing somewhere else. And what better way than a plant, right?
Absolutely. What a great idea.
I
That's,
hope
yeah.
so.
I
I
love
hope
it.
so.
I love
Well,
it.
I'm going to put a challenge out to my greater community, and if I can't come up with 30 people who want to help me put plants into these rooms, I don't have the right people in my network. um,
Thank you, Dawn. That's awesome.
yeah. So you mentioned about when you were mentioning the people who could be eligible to take these rooms.
Mhm.
I don't want to misspeak, but you talked about like the kids. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so we have these apartments. We have two, I'm going to screw this up because it gets confusing. We have one 3-bedroom apartment, and we have three 2-bedroom apartments, and the other ones are all 1-bedroom or studio apartments. And we have not been able to do this before. I'm not sure why, but we've never had any family type units before, at least that I'm aware of in this community. Typically, when people present at Department of Social Services and they have a family, Department of Social Services tries to place them as quickly as they possibly can. And we know that they typically go to hotels, local hotels. And that's really the only placement that they have for them. So this is unique in the sense that now we can serve families. We have a family that has been living in a car, a family that has been unstably housed for the last however many years or months. We can now bring this family together and provide them as a whole unit and individually whatever they need, and connect them with the services that they need as well.
That's amazing.
Mhm.
That's amazing.
We're excited. So excited.
Um, yeah, because we all see it. And while it's a leg up when they're all sharing a hotel room, right? And they're doing their best to like make meals without even like a kitchenette, really.
Right, right.
Um, it's still better than where they had been, and at least it's safe. But
That's
that is amazing that kids will have their own space.
yeah, yeah,
And as a child to feel like you're normal,
yes,
right?
yeah.
Like your other like other kids that you know.
That's right. That's
That's
right.
got to be huge, huge.
Agree, agree.
And I can't even imagine what it feels like for a parent to
Mhm.
give that back to their kids too.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what we all do as parents. We want to give our kids the best, and sometimes life gets in the way of that. So when you have the opportunity to be involved in something like this, it's the best way that you can go at that time, and you're giving your kids all that you
So we've been talking and mentioning COVID here, there, and everywhere in this conversation. How has COVID changed the people that you're seeing or the needs that are out there?
can. Yeah. So if you think about mental health, a lot of times people automatically go towards depression, they go towards anxiety. And that is absolutely much more common in the community than you would see numbers of individuals diagnosed with schizophrenia or bipolar disorder, or even major depressive disorder. Um, I think that everybody in their lives has dealt with some sort of depression or anxiety, whether it's themselves, a loved one, a friend, a coworker, somebody they know in the community. They have been impacted by it. And as you can imagine, with either one of those situations, isolation is the worst thing that you can do for someone who is dealing with depression and or anxiety. So COVID has definitely created this isolative type of environment where we're all being enclosed into these little bubbles just to keep ourselves safe and healthy, which is totally understandable. So now the challenge becomes, how do we counteract that? How do we get into those bubbles and still be able to help those individuals, even though we might not be able to be with them face to face? And thankfully, as a result, we and other people in the community have been able to attach to technology more so and be able to utilize that as a tool in our toolbox to be able to connect with these people. And we're seeing it universal. We're seeing, people going untreated regardless of COVID being around. Obviously, there's a situation there. If you don't have access to treatment, if you don't have access to somebody like your therapist or your prescribing doctor or even a health medical professional, right? If you don't have access to that, it just creates more stress in your life. And COVID certainly has caused, obviously, a lot more stress. And so it's a matter of
Absolutely.
counteracting that. And how do we stay ahead of it? How do we keep healthy?
Yeah, and there's a lot of talk now about how now that things are opening up, right? And we've all been waiting for it to happen, waiting for it to happen, but now everybody's like, yeah, but now I'm not so sure.
Right,
Like I don't know yay, I can go out. Oh, I don't know if I want to.
right.
Right? Like we went I cooked all day Saturday and brought a meal down to the in-laws on Sunday for Mother's Day because we are now officially all vaccinated and can do so and
Yeah,
hug them for the first time in over a year. And my sister-in-law and brother-in-law stopped by and they're standing in the kitchen and they're talking to us and they look kind of awkward and stuff and they're talking, yeah, we're vaccinated too. And finally I couldn't stand it anymore. I was like, so are you guys hugging yet? And then my sister-in-law was like, oh yeah, and then she hugged me like forever, right? And then and we were all hugging and then everybody was fine, but for a little while it was like, we don't know how to do this in person thing.
yeah.
you know
Even that, we got to retrain ourselves.
right,
How do we
because
connect?
it was so normal before to gather at mom and pa's house and people would be coming in and everybody go and get their hugs around the whole entire house.
Yeah.
Here we all were just like, I was like, can we hug now?
So awkward, right?
Yeah, and you
Yeah,
would think, it's only
yeah.
been a year, but all of us, it's been a traumatic year,
It has been. It truly
right?
has
That
been.
gets thrown around, but I
Yeah,
really think we need to appreciate just how traumatic it's been. I
absolutely.
It's been just me and my husband, but I know lots of people who have been alone in isolation now for a year
Yeah.
or single parents with kids.
Oh, yes. Yes. Can you imagine the trauma of a parent having to work from home and teach their kids everything they need to learn with the assistance of the hybrid supports the school can give? I
Right,
can't imagine. I cannot
right,
imagine.
right. I'm on Twitter a lot and I have a tribe on Twitter, and I can tell you that they have days and then they have days, and
Yeah.
none of them are easy for the
No,
single parents. None of them are easy.
no.
I'm not saying they have good days. That would be an exaggeration, right?
Mm,
It's
yeah,
been like they've been on survival mode. Seriously,
yeah,
survival mode
yes,
for
yes,
over a year
yeah,
now.
yeah. And
So,
even multi-parent houses, I think that they're equally as stressed. I just think the household dynamic has completely changed and been flip-flopped, turned upside down, shaken, whatever you can imagine with COVID and the way of life. And while I think there's been some positives that come out of it, like the creativity where we can learn how to connect, and also kind of making you slow down and maybe not take for granted some things that you might have before because of the fast-paced society we live in. But it certainly has wreaked havoc as well, and it certainly is something that we're all going to be talking about for generations to come,
Yeah.
and helping each other to get through. Whether it's getting over the no hugging rule or the no shaking hand rule. I just had that happen yesterday. A contractor came up and said, "Oh, are you shaking hands yet?" Yes, I'll go sanitize when I'm done, but yes, let me shake your hand. Um, we're going to do it together, and that's the only way it's going to work is if we just help each other out.
Right. And I keep wondering about, like, there are some positives that have come out of it, like you said.
Mhm.
Absolutely have been. Like, do kids really need to play every single sport? Right? Do they need to go from this sport to this sport to this sport? And, mom and dad running them around in the evening and they're eating like hot dogs at these places where the kids are.
Right,
Like, like, is that necessary? Or
right,
can
right.
kids just play?
Yeah,
And yeah, do they need to play sports all the time, or can they just also just play? Like, can they
yeah,
pick one sport a season
right.
instead of every sport available?
Yeah, yeah.
Kind of thing. I'm like, yeah, can we rethink that? But there's other things too about, like, the family dynamic. Can it be reinvented? I would love for it to be reinvented.
Yeah. I think it's kind of already reinventing itself. I mean, we just go through it. If you look at past decades, the way things have always been, I think it's been slowly evolving, but certainly COVID has done a number on it. And I just hope that as a result, we've all come out of this and we've learned something about ourselves, something maybe about our family, about life in general. And can we take what we've learned and apply it? Can we be that community member that is caring about their community? Can we be that family that's caring about one another? Whatever it takes. What is it that you've learned, and how can you do something about it and make things better?
Right. Yeah. I like, in the beginning of the lockdown, there was locally here to me, somebody opened up one of their sheds in Greenwich, and people would donate food and diapers and all kinds of things, paper towels, toilet paper, all the things. And it was open 24/7. There was a small fridge in there, and people could come and take what they need, leave what they don't, kind of thing. And that went on for months, but it was like it was getting cleaned out almost on the daily,
That's amazing.
right? Yeah. Um, but I thought, something like that happened. I was like, see, there's the beauty in the weirdness. There is, if you're right, like, how do we take that mindset of helping your community? How do we make that stick a little bit when we all go back to work and go back to our own lives, and we can, get all up in our own business again, and
Yeah,
which
yeah,
we will do,
of
right? Because
course,
it's
of
human
course.
nature to get back in your own head and get back in your own routines.
Yeah,
So, um, I would love to figure out how to nurture that kind of stuff ongoing. How do we keep stuff like that happening?
yeah, yeah. I think the part of it is holding each other accountable too. Like if I see something in you that has been a positive change for you, and you've gone back to your life after COVID, and I see that change starting to go back to the way things always used to be, not being afraid to say, "Hey, Don, you know, remember 6 months ago when you used to do this and you used to love it so much and it used to bring you such joy and relaxation or whatever it is. How do we get back to that? How can I help you get back to that? And supporting each other through that."
That's a great idea. That's a great idea. So what do you see in your community? Like, what are your greatest needs right now?
Where do I begin? I think when you think about all of the things that we're seeing on the news, and it's constant negativity. I mean, look what just happened over the weekend, right?
Oh my
But
God. I was driving home from the chiropractor yesterday morning, right? I had a 7:15 appointment, so it was really early. And I'm
yeah,
driving back down the hill to Schuylerville, and on the radio they said that there had been 9 mass shootings between Friday and Monday morning.
Yes.
Like,
Is it
whoa, I knew there was a couple, but there's so many that they're not even making it into the media news cycle.
Yeah, yeah, very scary, very scary. So when you think about, somebody made a comment in the middle of COVID. I'm saying middle of COVID. It was probably like 6 months ago. That what is normal going to look like to us? And a news reporter, and I wish I could remember where it was from, they said, we'll know when things are normal when the mass shootings start again. And I thought, how sad is that? How sad that we're using that as a measurement for normalization.
And how
It,
sad is it they were right?
it's so true. It's so true. So when we think about all of those things, and obviously, mental health comes up in every single one of those cases, and it goes back to how come they weren't being treated, or how come somebody didn't see the signs. Those are all valid points, but it goes back to that conversation. It goes back to the awareness. It goes back to community members being able to have open conversations about things like mental health, and not being afraid to speak out, and not being afraid to ask if someone needs help. I mean, we're sitting here trying to push into schools with legislation that schools should now be teaching mental health curriculum. They should have been doing that right along, and I'm so grateful that they are now. I think it's just as important as having health class, because mental health is,
Yes.
is so part of it. But that's where it starts. It starts with having the conversation. It starts with, talking to this generation of youth and helping them to understand. Um, it's about just embracing one another and our differences. I mean, the numbers are so high, for suicides, especially among the LGBTQ groups. And that is sad to me. Like, we need to be more open with one another. We look at all of the other things that are happening with Black Lives Matter and Asian Lives Matter. And, quite frankly, it's sad that we've come to this point.
Yeah.
So that is always there in our community, and it's always, at least on a professional and personal level, it's always in our faces. And I think that is our first and foremost priority. I think we need to get to a place where, as a community, we can come together and support one another, regardless of who each person is and of what each person is doing in their personal lives or professional lives, and be a community together. Um, wouldn't it be great if we could do that? I know it's a pipe dream, but it's definitely something that if we all took steps to do that, it would make a huge difference.
Yeah. And for me, I'm like, we got to get down to the total root of the problem too, because in the majority of cases, the shooter is a white male between the ages of 19 and 25, right? I mean, I'm not making this up.
Those are,
That's the reality of it. So what are we teaching boys? We need to raise them differently. We
yeah,
need to tell them it's okay to have feelings, to be a sensitive boy, to cry, to have emotions,
mhm,
right? We need to throw away those things about, big boys don't cry, and you must be strong, and you're like you're the man of the house. I will say quite frankly that when my husband walked out on my son and I, when my son was 10, he had that conversation with him. Like, you're the man, you need to take care of your mom now. And
yeah,
I was like, yeah, no, he is a child. I take care of him. That's not your job, honey.
yeah,
Yeah, you are going to be a little boy.
that's right,
Nothing changes about that in this house.
that's
But I
right,
think we need to raise our both females and boys differently. We need to raise them. We need to let girls know they can be strong.
yeah,
Let boys know it's okay to be sensitive and
yes,
have big emotions,
that's right,
right?
that's
Uh,
right.
because these young men are not picking up a gun and shooting multiple people because they're having a good day,
No, this is
or right? And it's not a whim, right? You don't just wake up one morning and decide you need to kill people. This is there's been some kind of brokenness in their world for a while,
Yeah, this is true. This is true.
right?
Absolutely. And if we could all just somehow look within ourselves to figure out how we can help. What is it that we're doing? Are we parents? And what is our message to our kids? How are schools doing it? How is the community doing it? What can we do to work together to make this messaging better, to open up the communication, to, work with people as people and what their individual needs are, not putting them all together in a group and profiling them based on whatever. We need to work together, and it's only going to change if we continue to work together and help the generations to come also do the same.
And it can be as simple, like when you're out and about in the world, to look at people in the eye when you pass by them, or look at your cashier or the kid who's stocking the cans next to you. Like acknowledge them, right? Because like all we all want is to be seen,
Yeah,
acknowledged, and heard.
yeah,
And that makes us feel like we matter.
yes,
Even if it's
absolutely.
just, hey, buddy, you're doing a good job. Those cans look great.
Yeah, yeah,
I like, thank you for bagging my groceries,
yeah.
right? All those things. Pass somebody on the street, look at them. You don't have to say hi, shake their hand, but smile.
Smile has made such a huge difference in people's lives. There's documented studies on how a smile can change a person's day. Just one person, a complete stranger on the street smiling at you, has changed the course of many people's lives throughout the years. And I know there's been books written about it. It's just something so simple. It's free.
That's what I
It,
was going to say. It doesn't cost you anything.
that's right. And you may change the course of someone's life forever just by doing that.
Right. It doesn't cost you anything and it doesn't cost any time. You can do it in passing.
That's right.
It's just a simple look, a smile, a nod, like,
Yeah,
hey, I see you.
that's
You
right.
exist.
That's right.
Because how many times have, like, I know when I'm in the grocery store and like older people, and says the almost 60-year-old, but like elderly people, like this is their big outing maybe for a week or even 2 weeks,
Right.
and they want to talk to you.
Yes, it's so
Right?
true. Yeah,
Like if you catch their eye, they're going to start talking to you.
yeah,
And I learned right away, you know what? Spend a couple of minutes talking to them, because someday that's going to be you, Dawn, in the grocery store
true.
going, hey,
Yeah, that's right. Talk
how
to
about
me.
that weather? And
That's right.
did you see these Cheerios? Hold the door for them, take the cart back to the thing for them, whatever, the
Yeah,
smallest thing, so that they know that, they still have some value in this while
true.
they're here in the world.
That's true.
Um, Everybody is somebody's grandparent too. Like if you have grandparents, how can you not be gracious to other elderly people?
Absolutely.
Right? Because
Uh,
wouldn't you want other people to be nice to your grandparents?
yeah, yeah, it's so true. It's so true. Kindness goes so far. And it really takes no effort. I mean, if we're mindful in our situations and everything that we do every single day, and I know stress can get really high and sometimes you just want to zone out. But if you just take a second in the moment of your day and make contact with one person, be it through a smile, through a hello, acknowledge that they've asked you a question, or they want to talk to you about Cheerios, you do that again, it costs you nothing, and you may have just changed the course of that person's life and or just made their day.
Right. And I've got to tell you, there's also a selfishness to it, because you walk away and you feel good,
True.
right? And there's never a time where I walk away from, those encounters and go, oh, wow, that was so difficult and
Right.
annoying, you
Right.
know?
Right. Yeah. It's an instant, positive thing that again is free. I don't have to pay to, smile to someone and make myself feel better. It's like giving, and that's obviously a whole other conversation. But those are the same things that create that instantaneous feeling you get when you just reach out and do something nice or positive for someone.
Right. And then, because again, I'll be 60. So you get set in your ways and you see the kids, and we're talking about that LBG, all the letters that I'll
Yeah.
never remember, right?
Mhm.
And they're wearing clothes that may not be gender specific to
Right?
your liking, or they're wearing several earrings, or there's a young man who has his fingernails painted,
Yeah.
and fight the urge to go, why?
Yeah,
put a smile on your face and go, "Oh, I love that color." Or,
exactly.
"Oh my God, that shirt you're wearing is fantastic. That color goes so good.
Yeah,
You look great today."
yeah,
Right? Because you have no idea what kind of strength it takes to make yourself different and walk out into the world.
that's right.
Right?
That's
I mean, we know that because your
yeah,
first instinct is to question why they're doing that. So
exactly.
imagine what it takes to do that and show up.
Exactly. And you just don't know what anybody is going through in their lives. They don't wear signs that say, I'm in an abusive relationship, I'm depressed, I just lost my job. We don't do that. We don't portray that out. So why would you expect to, um, you know, uh, I guess the negativity that goes around by you giving a negative eye or the hairy eyeball at someone or the nose up in the air and walk by or roll your eyes. Why do that? If
Yeah, really, how is it affecting your life?
How is that right? How is it bothering you? If you can't give them a smile, if you can't compliment them on something, just don't do anything at all.
Right.
And that is not going to create anything. You're not going to feel good walking away necessarily, but it's also not going to affect that other person, right?
Right.
Because you're not going to have a negative response to
Right. Because you may think it's all accepted where at their home where they got dressed before they left the house, but probably not.
that. You don't know. You
Right?
don't know.
So maybe if you could shed a little kindness on them, it may be the only kindness they get all day. And that's
Yeah,
what I think with every person I encounter, especially the grumpy people. I'm like, I have no idea why they're grumpy, but
yeah,
I know it's not my fault.
right. Yeah, don't
So,
personalize these things, right?
right. Yeah. Yeah. Like, yeah, that Dunkin' Donuts person is cranky and it's definitely all your fault.
Yeah,
Like they're
send it.
going out of their way just to make your day harder.
Yeah, yeah, that total stranger. Yeah, we have to
Yeah.
change the way we think.
Yeah, we really do need to open up the kindness a lot.
Yeah.
So, what do you think is regard as well as everything we talked about, what do you think going forward do we really need to be the most mindful about? What would you like us to be the most mindful about?
I think it just goes back to be mindful of one another. Be mindful that someone is there, that if they're a person, they're a human being, that they deserve the respect, they deserve acknowledgement um, just as much as I do or as you do. Um, if again, if nothing else, if you can do that, if people can just do that in every situation, it could make a difference. It could be that ripple effect. It could be nothing at all comes of it, but at least it's something um, that is opposite of doing something negative. And I think that's where we need to get to in society, where that the positive aspects, and I'm not looking through rose colored glasses here, the positive aspects of life need to really be drawn out and they need to be expounded upon. And if we can make a difference, if I can personally make a difference, and if you can personally make a difference, just by smiling at people when you see them, there's going to be some positive aspect that's going to come out of it somewhere, somehow. And I really think that if people just started being mindful of one another, that's a start in the right direction.
Right. And why not my backyard?
Exactly.
Why not my
Exactly.
backyard? Where are people supposed to live?
Right. And quite frankly, they might already be in your backyard and you
Correct.
just don't know it because again, we all don't wear signs that say what's going on in our lives.
Right. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Wow. Okay. This was an amazing conversation. I'm so happy to know about the Cooper Street
Yeah.
apartments.
Yeah.
I am going to try and get on my get on my community boards and find out where I can get the plants and
Love
how
it.
much they're going to cost and then find out how much people need to donate in order for me to get it and drop off a bunch of plants next week. It probably won't be by Monday, but hey, Stranger things have happened. I might be dropping them off this weekend. You may
Never
hear from
know.
me. You may hear from me. Where do I go? Where am I bringing
I
these?
love it. Thank you
Um,
so much.
yeah, it's a little thing, such a
Yeah,
little thing.
it is.
So thank you so much for this conversation.
Thank
Thank you for
you.
your time. Um, I will have all the links. If you're listening to this episode, all the links were there before you clicked on to watch. But if you can't find them, hit me up. I will hook you up. If you want to know more information about, say it for me because I won't say it
That's
right.
okay. Warren Washington Association for Mental Health.
And it's been there forever, right?
1948 we started.
Right. And
Yeah,
I had no idea.
I
I
know.
had no idea. Um, so if you're interested in talking to Andrea and finding out what you can do, or you know somebody who needs help,
Yep.
you know who to turn to. If you can't
That's
find Andrea, I will hook you up. So everybody, have a really great rest of your day. I'll see you next week with the next episode. Thank you so much, Andrea.
Thank you, John, for all you do. You're just a wonderful, beautiful human being.
Oh,
You really are.
thank you.
Are.
That just made my whole week. Thank you. I'll go do laundry now. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. You too.
Bye.